What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Another month is in the books. So that just means one thing, guys. What have I watched in April? So, the first film that I watched this month, I've watched quite a few this month, more than last month for definite. So, this should be a fun little one. A lot of mixed feelings, some really good films, some really bad films in this. A good mix of good and bad. So let's get into the first film. So the first film is interesting. It's a short film, and it's by a guy called Mr. H. He has got a channel called Mr. H Reviews. Now, this film in particular is called Black Fields. Now, Black Fields is a 12-minute short film, written, directed, by Mr. H. It was crowdfunded. I think he crowdfunded this project for about £20,000, and he shot it in the midst of the first lockdown in the UK during the pandemic, and it's a very strong directional debut for Mr. H. A very strong film, lots of great cinematography. Some of the acting is a bit hokey in places. Some lines aren't delivered, very well in places. But I think this is a entertaining 12 minutes that I'm hoping to see more of with this universe that he's created. Blackfield is kind of a combination of kind of a Thing-esque horror in these really dark wooded areas, involving these Norse, pre-Norse berserker warriors basically trying to find their way home, and they encounter this entity that basically becomes a serious threat to their lives. That's the basic outline of the plot. So yeah, I think it's a genuinely entertaining watch. 12 minutes of your time. Link in the description down below. I think it's very, very, very worth your time. It's free to watch. You can just go onto the Mr. H Reviews channel and watch it right there and then. So I'd say check it out. 12 minutes of your life. I think it's pretty decent. He released a Blu-ray as well, which I happily pre-ordered. So that is really cool to get a Blu-ray of this short film. The Blu-ray will come with the short film, a prequel film called Bjorn and Frida, which is also really good as well, and it comes with an hour-long documentary of the making of the film. So I think Blackfield, kicking off this video for what I've watched in April, Blackfield is a very, very good, strong debut film from Mr. H, and I think I'm so glad I pledged to it crowdfunding, and I helped to make I helped it in some little way for it to be made. So yeah, go and check out Blackfield. Link is in the description. It's pretty decent. Next up was a film that I wanted to revisit because I've not seen it in years, and I had the nice premium collection Blu-ray of it, and that is Gremlins 2. Gremlins 2, after this rewatch anyway, Gremlins 2 is in every way superior to the first movie in my opinion. Everything about it is fantastic. It's like a Looney Tunes cartoon. It's seriously ambitious to the point of nausea, where Joe Dante was given $50 million and said go nuts with it, and he literally went nuts with it, and it is a supremely entertaining movie, and I think it's superior, like I said, in every way to the original. I love the original Gremlins a lot. I love that movie, but I think a lot of that love comes from nostalgia as well. This sequel for me though, Gremlins 2, is so good, so well acted, some of the most just hilarious gags in it, in this film. I love it to pieces. You've got all the gremlins in it, going into his laboratory and drinking all these really weird cocktails and experiments and becoming weird kind of. You've got like a spider gremlin, and you've got a female gremlin, you've got electricity gremlin, bat gremlin, and my favourite, the brain gremlin, the gremlin that can talk, and he's like trying to explain why the creatures are what they are, and it's just really good. I really like this movie. I think it's fantastic. one of the best sequels, I think, one of the better sequels to a film, to a classic film that I could really say, really. Obviously up there, it's probably up there with stuff like, you know, Terminator 2 and Aliens and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, Gremlins 2, fantastic movie, superior to the original in my opinion. If you've not seen it, I can't recommend Gremlins 2 enough. It's awesome. Next up was a film I was very graciously basically sent, was graciously sent to me by Leon Talks Film. So go and sub to Leon. He's closing in to 600 subs. He'll be there soon, so help him out, give him a sub. Leon, you know, thanks again for this film. So yeah, Leon sent me a film called Possessor, which is a film directed by the son of David Cronenberg, Brandon Cronenberg, and Possessor is a mind-bending sci-fi film that deals with personal identity and do you really know who you are? But it takes that premise, it takes that idea and that mind-bending idea and then thrusts it into this very crazy sci-fi film where it's about an organization that has a machine that can basically transport someone's consciousness into somebody else's body, and they do that so they can commit hits. They can commit murders, these hits on people that they call their clients, order it. And it is one of the most graphically, realistically violent films I've seen in a long time. Don't let that put you off, because that kind of put me off a little bit. I was like, I don't really want to see really nasty shit. Like, I mean, I'm into my gore, I'm into my horror films and gore, but when it gets down to gritty realism, that's when I kind of check out. It, obviously, it depends how awful it is. But this film is violent, is really hard to watch in places, but it's not to the point where I couldn't watch it. I watched it all the way through, and I really like this movie. I think it's a really good science fiction film. A lot of nods to David Cronenberg. You know, obviously his son doing it. You can expect some inspiration from his father, from his parent, his dad. You can expect that, and you know the body horror aspect of this film is prevalent throughout the whole movie, and it does make you question your own existence by the end of it. And yeah, I think this is going to be a cult favorite for a long time. I think. I don't think it's really wowed the mainstream audience for movies. I've seen a lot of people not liking this movie, but I can understand why. It is a hard watch. It is very much a film that basically doesn't hold your hand. It says, it shows you things and you're meant to basically figure it out yourself, and I do appreciate it for this movie in particular, and I think it's just a fantastic movie. So I really recommend Possessor. Check it out if you haven't seen it yet. I just think it's fantastic. I think it's a great science fiction body horror almost, but yeah, check it out. It's really fucking good. Next up on my April bonanza, I watched a Harryhausen classic, 20 Million Miles to Earth. This is a really great 50s monster movie, stop motion animation. The master Ray Harryhausen, as he does, just makes the monster look so alive in stop motion. Just fantastic all around. I love the I can't remember how you pronounce the monster's name. It's like Ymir. The Ymir, I'm going to pronounce it that way, I don't have a fucking clue. The Ymir monster in this is so cool and so such a unique design. Yeah, he's sort of humanoid, but I just think he feels so alive with the stop motion animation. There's so much emotion and such emoting with this monster. We kind of finally do by the end of this film kind of sympathize with the monster a little bit, and it's really good like that. It has a lot of those emotional moments and those really cool moments where you can't sympathize with the monster. And I do love this film for that. This film's great. It's a classic Ray Harryhausen movie. The stop motion's brilliant. I like a lot of the characters are really likable as well. So I really recommend 20 Million Miles to Earth. It's really good. It's a classic 50s monster movie that I can't recommend enough. Check it out. Next up on my docket of April is a 1975 horror film starring Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. And funnily enough, this is a English and Spanish joint venture. It's not a Hammer horror, but it's pretty much a Hammer horror all but name, pretty much. It's called Horror Express, and it is fantastic. I've got the Arrow Blu-ray of this, and it's probably one of the best looking Blu-rays I have in my collection. It looks pristine, it looks crisp, it looks beautiful, and this film is brilliant. This film is pretty much The Thing on the train before John Carpenter's The Thing actually ever came out. It is based on Who Goes There, which is what The Thing is based on, and that's what I love about this movie. It takes that core concept, and it's different enough from what you know about The Thing and The Thing from Another World. It has that bit of a twist on it, and it's very, very engaging. And it's about this monster frozen in ice. They find him, they want to take him back to the laboratory to study it, because Christopher Lee's character believes that he's been in the ice for thousands and thousands of years. And it's just a typical monster movie where, it's not typical in a bad way, but it's a typical kind of setup for a monster movie. Obviously, the frozen monster person thing comes alive, and then it starts killing people. And what it does is really weird. It's like, if it looks at you, it basically sucks all the knowledge and all your memories from your brain to the point where you die. And it learns as it goes along. It learns as it kills, and it's pretty scary. And there's a revelation in the film that I just think that to me sums up why I think it's The Thing on the train, is that upon death, the monster transfers its whole consciousness into a host. So it's very similar to The Thing. I just think it's a great 70s horror film. Very well acted, very great pacing, great reveals. Some of the most really enjoyable, entertaining actors and characters in a horror film I've seen in a long time. So yeah, Horror Express is 100% must watch in my opinion, and it's one of the best films I've seen this month. So yeah, Horror Express, definitely check it out. 100%, it's fantastic. Next up is the big film this month that I was super hyped to see it, which is the brand new 2021 reboot of Mortal Kombat. Now this film, right, is, to boil it down to its base essence, is an entertaining violent martial arts film. And on that basis alone, I would say, yeah, go and see it. You probably will have a good time. I've seen it twice because my friend came around and he wanted to watch it, so we watched it together. I was entertained on both occasions for this film, but this film has a lot of problems. The point of view character, fish out of water character, Cole Young, especially on the second watch, is pretty lacking in every aspect of the character. I think he's very much an unnecessary addition to this film, and I think the actor has been woefully miscast, and his acting isn't very good. Let's just face it, it's not very good at all. Yeah, and I feel that sometimes it gets a bit Hollywoody towards the end of the film. It's very Hollywood-esque, kind of typical, kind of like they have like a team morale speech, rallying up the team and all that. It's a bit cringe, but it gets very Hollywood in it sometimes. But I think visually it's fantastic. Costume design is brilliant. I think there is Easter egg moments that made me go fuck yes. So there's a lot of good things in this movie, but obviously there's a lot of bad things. And the thing is, I hate where video game movies kind of just have this stigma of like, oh yeah, it's fine, it's just a video game movie. I don't see why that, I don't understand why just because it's a video game movie it's allowed to be bad. Why can't we just have a good movie? Why does it have to have the stigma of a video game movie? But anyway, I digress. So in conclusion, for me, Mortal Kombat is an entertaining film that I think a lot of people may enjoy just for the dumb fun of it. But for me, after watching it twice, it's a bad movie that I really enjoyed. So take that how you will. Check it out for yourself. Make your own opinions up. That's just my opinion. I enjoyed it. I'm going to get the Blu-ray. That's how much I enjoyed it. But I can recognise, in my opinion, that there's a lot of bad in it. Probably will be the big divisive film this year. You know, I'm all for these kind of middle of the road films where they're clearly not perfect. They've got a lot of bad in them, but they're still entertaining. So yeah, take that what you will. Yeah, Mortal Kombat. Do I recommend it? Yeah, it's entertaining. Check it out. Next up is a film that I would not recommend. I unfortunately spent, you know, I unfortunately spent 90 minutes watching the Wrong Turn remake, which I wish I could get that time back, but I can't. The Wrong Turn, I went into this film not knowing nothing about the original films, right? And I didn't know nothing about. I just knew that they were kind of like schlocky, sleazy slasher movies with inbred cannibals in them. Apparently, the remake doesn't have any of that in it. It still has like the whole Wrong Turn aspect, people lost in the woods kind of thing, but it doesn't have those. The cannibal part of it is gone. Like the inbred stuff is gone, right? But this film, for me, especially the good first hour, is excruciatingly boring and excruciatingly long-winded, and pretty much nothing really happens. And this film has an issue where it has the most unlikable characters I've ever sat through in a horror film. You might go, oh Jason, there's this film that has shit. I mean, I've not seen every horror film, but this film I didn't like any of the characters. Even the final girl towards the end, I didn't care. Didn't care for any of this. All these characters just suck. They really do. They suck, and I couldn't get behind any of them. In a certain way, with these kind of like horror films, you want someone to root for, be it the villain, be it the good guys. But I didn't care about either side. I thought the villains were kind of bland. It turns out they're kind of this cult village kind of doing their own thing, and if you trespass and enter and they basically say you can't leave, you've got to live with us or die, something like that effect. But I didn't care about any of it. I was expecting a more brutal film, and there's not much violence to be speak of really. It's fairly violent, but I thought it was going to be just like, nail on a chalkboard brutal, but it's not that at all. The only positive about this movie, and it's a shame because I wouldn't recommend watching this whole film to get to it, is the last 10 minutes are fucking excellent. The ending to this film I was not expecting whatsoever, and it's excellently well done. It's a really, really good ending, and I was smiling by the end of this film. But I can't recommend anybody sit through this fucking bore fest to get to that good ending. It's a really bad film with a great ending, but I wouldn't recommend you watching it for the ending. It really just is not a good film, and I would not recommend it. And yeah, it's just not good. Don't watch it. I wouldn't waste. If you like the actual franchise Wrong Turn, maybe check it out. But for me, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. Next up was a film that is probably my film of the year this year so far, and that film is Nobody. Yes, Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk. This film is absolutely fantastic. Fucking awesome. If you love John Wick, if you love Die Hard, if you love Taken, those one man against the world films, that is just awesome action, I think you would love this movie. It is brilliant. I think I like it more than John Wick. Kill me in the comments, whatever. I think it's fantastic. Bob Odenkirk is such a great actor in this. The character, he plays a character called Hutch Mansell, and he goes from this washed up family man into this ultra badass, and it is so entertaining to watch how his demeanor changes. It's so entertaining. It's so good. There's so many great moments in this film that I can't spoil it for people. You have to go and see this movie. The great thing about this film as well is the action does get really silly towards the end of the film, but for the most part the action is grounded and brutal and just hard hitting, and it's fucking awesome. I love this movie. This movie was a ton of fun, and I really hope we get a sequel. I wouldn't know in what aspect we would get a sequel, but I really do hope we get some kind of follow-up to this, because it is fantastic. Nobody is my film of 2021 so far. It's absolutely fantastic. I had so much fun watching this movie. There is so many laugh out loud moments because it's Bob Odenkirk being an absolute fucking badass that it's just puts a smile on my face. This movie is so fucking good. If you've not watched Nobody yet, I can't recommend it enough. It is brilliant. It's fantastic. One of the best action films I've seen since John Wick. Go and check it out. It's awesome. Oh, we're getting down to the final few films, and all of these films are bad. So, let's get into the badness. First up is a film called Anti-Life. It's a fairly low-budget science fiction alien rip-off starring Bruce Willis. And that's exactly what it is. It's a really dull, boring, low-budget sci-fi film that steals all the cool ideas from Alien and The Thing and just presents them in the most fucking cheap way. It is so... This film looks cheap as fuck. This film looks so cheap that I reckon I could make it. I'm not going to, because I would rather want to make something better than this. But anyway, it's just utter shit, really. An absolute piece of shit, this movie. I think the acting's awful. I think the monster is sort of like a monster movie, but not. It's almost like a monster infection movie where the monster infects other people and they become these weird drony zombie things. It's really, really convoluted, by the way, this film. You get this kind of thing, kind of mulched together thing creature at the end. It just follows all these typical sci-fi horror tropes, and then it just does them all bad. I thought this film was awful. I thought the acting was just really shit. And the thing is, Bruce Willis is actually fairly entertaining in this film, but the problem is, he's acting as if he's just trying to get through the job, like he doesn't want to be there. But he's fairly entertaining in it. But yeah, this film is just diabolically shit, and I would not recommend it whatsoever. Anti-Life, skip it. It's awful. Speaking of awful, this next film is called Jujutsu. It's got Nicolas Cage in it. This has got to be probably the worst action film I have ever had the displeasure to fucking watch, man. Like, oh fucking hell, this film doesn't know how to bloody shoot an action sequence to save its life. Like, the action sequences where the camera is literally shaking for the duration and it tries to follow the action, but then you get shots where the legs are, you just see someone's legs, you don't see the actual full frame. It's fucking awful, guys, awful. To the point where the camera work made me feel sick. Like, it was all like, it was awful. The story is, even though the premise is pretty cool. So the premise is like, basically every 6 years, this alien comes down to Earth, and it wants to basically fight 9 of the best warriors humanity can really give it, right? And it bestows those it seems worthy with Jujutsu. So apparently aliens gave us Jujutsu, guys. I know, I ain't got a fucking clue either. But yeah, so and what happened, basically the story is you know, it's literally, if you refuse to face it in combat, in Jujutsu combat, it will stay on Earth and it will just kill everything it comes into contact with. It won't care. So these 9 combatants, they've got to basically agree to fight it, and a lot of them won't survive, you know. So it's a very convoluted fucking story, man. Like, it's a cool concept, but it's been executed in the most worst possible way. Like, characters pop up, you think, oh, they feel like they're going to be a main part of the story. They just disappear after like 5-10 minutes. You're like, they seemed like, what about that thing they mentioned that they were going to find out? What happened? What? So subplots just disappear. So I'm just like, alright, okay. Like I said, the camera's all over the fucking place, it doesn't stop moving. The acting is shit. The action sequences, the choreography's fine if they knew how to frame a shot and actually shoot action. The choreography could have looked good, but no, it's all over the place. It made me feel sick. Nicolas Cage has a very small role in this movie. Typical Nicolas Cage, absolute craziness. Nicolas Cage in this. But I didn't care about any of the characters in this movie. I didn't care about their plight with this alien that wants to fight them all in combat. I didn't care. Nothing in this movie made me care about anything that was going on, and it just made me want to be sick. The way it was shot, it was just, this film is one of the worst films I've seen in a very long time. Do not seek this movie out. It is awful, and I would not recommend it. The only positive I could say about this movie is that the DVD I watched it on, the print is pretty good looking. It's a very, very good transfer on DVD. So that's the only positive I got. The only positive of this movie is that the actual DVD looked good. That's the only positive, guys. The film is shite. Don't watch this movie. It's shit. Let's move on to another bad movie. This next one hurts a little bit. Let's get on to this next one. So, this next movie. This is the last movie on the list for April. I recently got the Godzilla Showa Criterion Collection, and there's a lot of films in that I've not seen yet. Like I'm a massive Godzilla fan, but I'm still slowly making my way through the films. You know, I couldn't love the character and love the franchise and not see every film. That's allowed, right? Anyway, I thought, I've not seen Godzilla Raids Again. Godzilla Raids Again is a 1955 direct sequel to the original Gojira from 1954. Now, there's a big red flag with this movie, so I looked this movie up before watching it. And this film was released 5 months after the original movie. And unfortunately, it really, really shows. This film is a victim of a just utter cash grab. Toho wanted to capitalise on the success of the original Godzilla and push out a sequel as quick as possible. This film has literally nothing going for it. The characters are dull and unlikable. The pace is just excruciatingly slow and nothing happens. The actual monster action in it, Godzilla versus Anguirus, has this weird kind of fast forward motion look, and it just feels weightless. There is no weight to this movie. The fights seem like they're fighting on the moon. There's no fucking weight. And the fights are bad. I don't know what happened with the frame rate of the fights, but they're all like it's like when the fights happen, someone's pressed the fast forward button and it's fast forwarding the fight. It looks awful. It looks abysmal. This film is just bad, guys. It's just a bad Godzilla movie, and that really hurts, being it was meant to be the next chapter after the original Godzilla, which is a fucking masterpiece. It's such a sad, tragic event that this film was rushed out in 5 months to capitalise on the original success. Like, it's such a bad deal, and this film is just nothing. Like I said, nothing going for it. It's awful. Cinematography is really bad. Even the suit acting doesn't look good. And I wouldn't even go as far as saying the suits don't even look good. They have these awful. They have a lot of these awful zoom-in, close-up shots of the puppets of these monsters. And they look awful. It's just a really bad movie, and you could tell it was rushed out to make money after the original film. And don't watch this movie. This is the only Godzilla film that I've seen so far that I can say you can skip and you won't miss anything. You can skip this movie and you won't miss anything. The only thing this really does establish is the introduction of Anguirus, but even then it's kind of just like brushed over, like, oh yeah, he's a descendant of the Ankylosaurus. Yeah, apparently they've had an ancient rivalry for thousands of years. That's all you get with the Anguirus monster character. And yeah, it's just literally brushed over so they can bring another Godzilla into the fray and basically have another Godzilla film 5 months after the original. It's just so bad, and I would say if you've got that Showa collection, you can skip this and you wouldn't miss anything, honestly. So, they are the films I've watched in April. Let me know if you've seen any of these films in the comments down below. Whatever your opinions are, let me know down below. As always, if you are new new to this channel and you want to see more, maybe become a subscriber Runu and maybe subscribe. Hit the like button as well for the YouTube algorithm. It's the best way to help my channel reach the YouTube world, and obviously Godzilla will not come and destroy your town. Anyway, as always guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate all the support I've had this month. It's been amazing. As always, I have been Jason, and I hopefully you're going to watch some better movies next month. I think I will, yeah. Anyway, go and watch Nobody. It's fucking incredible.